Good morning. I'm Reb Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light and a student of A Course in Miracles. I've been a student for 40 years now. One of the things that I have done that I've been guided to do was to go through the workbook and then the manual for teachers to read each paragraph, especially in the workbook. I did it by the lesson. In the manual for teachers, I have read it paragraph by paragraph and asked Jesus for clarity as to what he wanted me to know about this. And then I write down whatever comes to me. Then I started working on the text. I haven't come anywhere near finishing it, a paragraph at a lifetime. A paragraph at a time could take a lifetime to do. Anyway, I'm going to, right now, I'm going to talk about 17 in the manual for teachers, 17, how did God's teachers deal with magic thoughts? And this is from paragraph 5. And paragraph 5 says, anger in response to perceived magic thoughts is a basic cause of fear. Consider what this reaction means, and its centrality in the world's thought system becomes apparent. A magic thought, by its mere presence, acknowledges a separation from God. It states in the clearest form possible that the mind which believes it has a separate will that can oppose the will of God also believes it can succeed. That this can hardly be a fact is obvious. Yet that it can be believed as fact is equally obvious. And herein lies the birthplace of guilt. Who usurps the place of God and takes it for himself now has a deadly enemy. And he must stand alone in his protection and make himself a shield to keep him safe from fury that can never be abated and vengeance that can never be satisfied. So in reading this, the phrase that's most meaningful to me at this time is the mind which believes it has a separate will that can oppose the will of God also believes it can succeed. When I read that, I felt it in my gut. I know the Course has been trying very hard to get me to understand the source of my guilt, and then to understand that the guilt is unfounded. But for a long time, it was difficult for me to embrace this idea. Intellectually, I could accept it, but I couldn't feel it. This phrase helped me to more fully accept that I harbor a deep reservoir of guilt that affects everything I believe. And now I see that this guilt was born of the belief that I can and did separate myself from God. Further, this implies that I have a will that is in opposition to God. Now I understood that the whole world, as I saw it, was a projection of that guilt. It acted as a repository for the guilt that is so deeply buried that I was, on the surface, unaware of it. Letting go of the idea that the stories of my life were the source of my fear and guilt was hard for me to do. I would think I understood this, but then I would notice myself looking to my stories for the cause of how I felt. I had to stop and laugh because just the other morning, I was thinking that I woke up feeling kind of draggy. My first thought was that maybe I'd slept too hard, or was it a dream I had? Perhaps it was that I had such a full week and I was overtired that caused this draggy feeling that morning. It is indeed hard to remember that the cause is not to be found in the story. The difference now is that I don't stay with these ideas long because I no longer believe them. Something else that has helped me very much came from the teachers of the teachings of Inner Ramana. It talks about fear, but fear and guilt are so closely associated that they are interchangeable. And this is what it says. The mind is afraid because the unnatural is not natural. The mind that has forgotten reality knows that something is wrong, but it does not know what that is. It projects stories in an effort to give itself a reason for its fear, but it cannot find the answer it seeks because it's looking in the wrong direction. Its fear does not come from its own projections, and so solutions to these projections cannot end the fear. So my sluggish body is a projection and not the cause. Figuring out how to wake up energetic is not the way to solve the problem. That is looking in the wrong direction. This reading reinforces what Jesus says in the Course. Fear and guilt, however they show up in the world, are not caused by the world. In fact, what was happening in my life came from the fear and guilt that the Course has been trying to help me see. The belief in fear and guilt make them feel very real to me. And so I bury it so deeply that I seem unable, or perhaps more truthfully, unwilling to extract it. But now I know that I will never be rid of the guilt through trying to fix the story. And so I look to the Holy Spirit for the answer. As I look back on my life, it is as if we were made of one guilty, as if it were made of one guilty, fearful situation after another, with me always trying to make up for something. I would do something that caused a circumstance that made me feel guilty, and then I would try to fix it or be a better person to make up for it. I never caught up. I see now that this is because all those things I did were caused by the buried guilt in my mind. Trying to fix a story was like trying to repair the reflection in the mirror. I really was looking in the wrong direction. I still don't feel the full burden of that guilt, and that's okay. I'm willing for this slow and gentle healing. I'm willing to take the next step and the next. The Holy Spirit knows a perfect path for me, and I'm content to walk it. I continue to watch my stories and notice what yet needs healing in my mind. I'm being guided now to see my innocence, and for that I am supremely grateful. This is how the Holy Spirit is answering my call for help. So thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please like it and maybe subscribe. Thanks.